Enclaves are portions of land belonging to country A, surrounded by the territory of country B, meaning they are not part of the territorial continuity of country A. As you can see, enclaves are truly crazy, and each one of them has a fascinating story to tell. In today's video, I'll give you a tour of the most interesting enclaves on our planet. Are you interested? Shall we? Then stay until the end of the video. Let's start with an easy spot that you probably already know the story of, one that makes almost as many headlines as your favorite gossip. Kaliningrad is one of the 48 oblasts of the Russian Federation, the smallest of them all, and it is surrounded by Lithuania, Poland, and the Baltic Sea. The history of this small territory, which is a real headache for Europeans. I'll tell you why it's truly macabre, and I can't even tell you the worst part, because then YouTube censors it. I'll show you one of the most iconic monuments in Kaliningrad, the Brandenburg Gate. No, not because they wanted to copy the German capital, but because the city was the capital of Germany when it was called Königsberg. More specifically, it was the capital of the Duchy of Prussia, and after a series of wars and territorial changes, it became the province of East Prussia, separated from the rest of Germany. In 1919, as you know, during World War II, Nazis and Soviets were involved in one of the bloodiest massacres of all time. And the easternmost territory of what was then Germany bore the brunt of all the Russian anger. Many civilians who didn't evacuate in time were gunned down by the Red Army, and there were also reports of abuse of many women. I'm not saying the forbidden word, you know why, right? End of the story. After the German defeat, the territory of East Prussia was divided into three parts. The south became the Voivodato of Barmia, assigned to Poland, and the north, the territory of Mermel, assigned to the Lithuanian Soviet Socialist Republic, and the center, present-day Kaliningrad, which remained under Russian sovereignty even after the fall of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics due to the stationing of Russian weapons of mass destruction. European suspicions regarding this territory continued to encourage European rearmament. Since we're talking about old rivalries, Nagorno-Karabakh, which already came under Azeri control in 2024, wasn't the only disputed enclave between Armenians and Azeris who get along so well to this day. Maduro? If you zoom in on Google Maps, from Armenia, called Artsvashin, surrounded by Azerbaijan, as well as an Azerbaijani village called Kyuhari Askipara in the middle of Armenian territory. These enclaves have existed since the Soviet era and were designed during Stalin's regime. He was very clear about the concept of divide and conquer, or in this case, divide and mediate. This was a strategy of demographic engineering and border redistribution in order to prevent ethnic homogenization in territories with territorial continuity, something that made possible separatist movements more difficult. Take note, Austro-Hungarians and Ottomans. Since during the Soviet era, everyone was part of the same suprastate, there wasn't much of a problem between Armenians and Azeris in both enclaves. The trouble started after independence, when the first Nagorno-Karabakh war broke out between Armenians and Azeris. If you thought they wouldn't spare even such tiny territories with defenseless civilian populations, you were right. The Armenian population of and the Azeri population of Yuhari Askipara were expelled, and both countries have occupied each other's enclaves since 1992. And who kept benefiting from this? The Russians, who are still acting as mediators. This same strategy was also used in Central Asia, on the borders between Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan, where you find as many pro-Russian as pro-Yankee enclaves, showing me their unconditional love. These countries, focused on their respective ethnic groups, had formed themselves as independent states, until before their conquest by the Russian Empire in the mid-19th century. So Stalin couldn't just sit idly by. These poorly defined borders also had their repercussions. Not as sadistic as the one in the Nagorno-Karabakh war, but it triggered a confrontation between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. In 2021, if we talk about unique curiosities of their kind, we have the Sok district, which belongs to Uzbekistan, is enclaved in Kyrgyzstan, but is inhabited by a Tajik majority.
The Jamaican one looks like lime but has a tamarind flavor. The Jamaica-shaped candy is tamarind-based but lime-flavored. And the one that looks like tamarind is made of lime but tastes like Jamaica?
We're moving to the Iberian Peninsula, where I'll give you a reminder. After the Franco-Spanish War, France took from Spain a territory known as El Rosellón, something that was stipulated in the Treaty of the Pyrenees, which shows us that we should always read the fine print. In it, it was stipulated that Spain had to cede 33 towns and villages in the region to France, which resulted in the creation of this enclave, known as the town of Guivia. It turns out that Guivia had the status of royal town granted by Charles V, so it was not included in the cession, which, as I mentioned to you, stipulated villages and towns. The current borders of Libya, completely surrounded by France and located 1.7 kilometers from the rest of Spain, were established in the Treaty of Bayonne of 1866. Today, it is part of the province of Girona, a small piece of Catalonia nestled in France. These medieval entanglements can also be seen in Central Europe. The small German village of Pussingen am Hohenheim, with only 1,600 inhabitants, is completely surrounded by Swiss territory. Originally, it was part of the county of Nellenburg and then changed hands several times between the local nobles and the Swiss city of Schaffhausen. Only after the Napoleonic Wars. It's because the Congress of Vienna assigned this small village to the Grand Duchy of Baden, which later joined Germany. And this is where it acquires the status of an enclave. Even though it's part of Germany, Bussingen is a hybrid area. It uses the Swiss franc and it has both Swiss and German postal codes. It depends on Switzerland for services like the police and telecommunications, but it is administered by Germany. As my grandpa used to say, a real mess. Just as some European nobles disputed territories, the Arab tribal chiefs were no different. The Majanahuames might be the most emblematic case. Zoom in on the eastern coast of the United Arab Emirates and you'll notice there's an Omani enclave called Majah, which in turn surrounds an Emirati enclave known as Najwa. That reminds me of a Matryoshka doll. It turns out that the region was inhabited by tribes like the Baniyas, who were connected to Sharjah, one of the 7 United Arab Emirates, and the Shihu clan, who were linked to the Sultanate of Oman. At that time, the villages paid tribute to one clan or another, something that continued for centuries. If you've already seen this video, you know that the region was controlled around the 19th century by the United Kingdom, which gave the current territory of the Emirates a rather peculiar name. The Trucial States. To honor their name, the rights and properties of the different clans, both from the Trucial States and Oman, were respected. That's how, after the withdrawal of the British and the independence of the Emirates and Oman, this curious border was drawn to avoid conflicts. After all, these enclaves have no strategic or oil value, so it's better to save the trouble of fighting over them. Fortunately, there are no border controls to cross between both enclaves. But cell phones do switch networks. So, you won't be able to make your Instagram story to record the "Look Mom, I crossed the border 3 times in an hour." But you can pay with the coins from both countries, which can make your life a bit easier. Anyway, what do you think? Enclaves are proof that every geographical curiosity is full of history. From violent stories like what happened in East Prussia to peaceful agreements without bloodshed like the curious case of Najwa. What other enclave around the world do you know about? Do you already know its historical background? Don't forget to leave your comment and subscribe to the channel. I'll also include my social media links in the description, and in case you want to watch the new videos at the premiere and have more interaction with me, your donations on Patreon, Una Manito Net, or channel memberships are welcome. See you next time.